Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.
He'll put you in his trap 'cause he's a union man. He's got it all figured out. He won't care what you think 'cause he's a northern man. He's allowed to speak his mind. His mind.
The Wigan Way podcast is brought to you by Cherry and White Pins, a local Wigan Warriors themed pin badge company with a variety of Wigan ranges. You can get free shipping on all orders when you use the code THEWIGANWAY, that's The Wigan Way, all in capitals, at checkout. Thanks to them for supporting the show.
So today we're joined with Wigan's Brad O'Neill. Thank you for coming on. First of all, it's an honour for you to come on and tell us your story. So thank you for coming on, mate.
Oh no, I appreciate it. You asking. Hopefully we can get a good podcast here for you.
Yeah, hopefully so. So I think it's only fair, everyone knows that we're filming Tuesday, the day of the Battle of the Borough. A couple of weeks ago you suffered a pretty bad injury. He heard it's an ACL injury. Hearing the recovery time's about 9 months. Can you give us a bit of an insight into that?
Yeah, so like I said a couple of weeks ago against Warrington, I tore my ACL and my meniscus. Obviously, when that happened, I was pretty devastated at the time. I kind of knew straight away. I went in to the change rooms, obviously got checked by the physio, but I kind of knew that it wasn't great. My dad come in straight away to me and told him like he knew and I knew what I'd done, because I've done it previously when I was 16, playing for the academy out here, and felt the same. No one my name, I just stepped off my right foot and heard it pop. It's a weird feeling, but yeah, there we go. Went for a scan a couple of days after and obviously found out, then obviously Matty released it.
Yeah. So I was going to say, obviously you had that injury in the academy. Was it the same feeling?
Yeah.
And you sort of knew in that moment?
Yeah, it was the same feeling, just stepping off. It was my left leg in the first one and now it's my right one. Same feeling. Numb. It was like a numb, achy feeling afterwards, so I kind of knew, and it swelled up like a balloon, so...
It's weird as a fan. Obviously we were sat at the ground watching, and it's always a weird feeling when you see someone go down and stay down.
Nobody around them.
Yeah, just no contact. It didn't look like...
Yeah.
I honestly thought you just rolled your ankle at first and then you got up holding your knee. So they always feel like the worst ones because you don't see anything wrong with it and you can't explain it in that moment.
Yeah.
But to know that you knew straight away, and I take it with that injury that you suffered, I can't remember what year it was, so it would have been 5-6 years ago in the academy.
Yeah, it was 5 years ago, yeah.
I take it you sort of knew straight away what the recovery process was and what you were going to have to do.
Yeah, straight away, like, I was... my dad drove me home, obviously I couldn't drive, and I was saying to my dad, like, I already know what it is and I know the time frame, and it's kind of just getting your head around the fact that it's going to be like a roller coaster of a journey. There's going to be highs and there's going to be lows, some dark days and some good days. It's just about preparing for that. And the best bit about it is, I feel like I've took the good from it, is spending more time with family.
Yeah.
It gives me a chance to go into detail with maybe some further education on looking at life after rugby. So,
well, that was a question we got sent by a fan, so I might as well ask it you now while you brought that up. What are your plans after rugby? I know you're still very early on in your career, but I'm assuming that's something that you're always thinking about.
Yeah, I do like my coaching, so I thought about doing some coaching. Previous to the ACL, I was speaking vaguely with Joel Tonkins about maybe upping the scholarship out. It was after the busy period with the Challenge Cup and England, so I do really want to get involved with coaching. But then I've been thinking about doing a business and finance course. I wouldn't mind opening my own business. Not sure what in yet. Obviously, I wouldn't mind getting a few pieces of property, a few rentals, just stuff like that. Really, I've got no really set plan yet. Like I said, I'm still young, but I've got a few ideas that I can now spend a bit of time focusing on, obviously, while I'm off.
I take it the club push you to look at that time after rugby and encourage you to be prepared, basically.
Yeah, Catman, obviously Tom Fitzpatrick plays a massive role in that. And obviously the rugby league cares with Stephen McCormack, great bloke. He helps out with all that and offers any support that players may need.
That's really good that the club pushes you to look after yourself long term, obviously.
Just back to the injury, Brad. So, would it be possible just to give us an overview of how you see it going over that 9 months or so? Is it, an operation first of all, time frame before you can then start getting some kind of rehab or whatever?
Yeah, so obviously I've got a date penciled in. Well, there's 2 dates. They're in the 20th of August or the 27th, so there's a week involved, and that's all due to swelling in the knee. So the quicker I can get the swelling at my knee, the better. So, and that stands for, because if you go into the operation with swelling in your knee, it's scar tissue.
Yeah.
So they have scar tissue in your knee, and it's like a build-up of scar tissue on top of more swelling then after the surgery. So it's important that we get the scar tissue, but we don't have none, so there's no swelling. So there's
a little bit of patience involved in that.
Yeah.
Isn't there? You've got to let that 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Settle down before getting in and having the op.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's about, was it 4? It was 4 weeks from they actually doing it to surgery, to getting the swelling out. But then after that, because I'm having my meniscus stitched back on, because that's obviously torn, it's going to be an extra 6 weeks non-weight bearing. So I'm going to be on crutches for 6 weeks, or no weight through my knee. So that's obviously holding the rehab back, because then if you just have ACL, you can speed the process up, obviously, but I'm non-weight bearing on my knee. So that holds me back a touch. So that was obviously disappointing, because pre-scan we was hoping that maybe it was just the ACL and not the meniscus, obviously, for that reason. But then obviously 6 week non-weight bearing, and then I can start doing my rehab then. But I think it's after 3 to 4 months we're starting back running. So then it's just about building up the running straight line, and then the endurance in the running, it's changing direction, then it builds into contact, and then there's a few other bits, but then obviously it leads up to around 8-9 months, and then that's a rough area then around that time, because then it's all on am I ready to play again, and then once it's down to me then around that period, and the physios to make me ready to play them. So that should be around maybe end of March, April time.
See, I find that really interesting, because obviously everyone says an ACL and that's the immediate worry, but you said you can actually get through that a little bit quicker, you can start rehab quite soon after, and the fact that your meniscus as well has been torn, that's going to add 6 weeks of non-weight bearing, and it sounds like to me that's going to be the bit that actually holds you out for a long time. It's starting rehab and starting the recovery process.
Exactly. So at first I know Vegas is coming up, I know everyone's very excited, and I thought about that, not straight away, but a couple of days after, about what's the chances of getting back for that. And once you found that I'd done my meniscus, it was a bit too soon. So I was a bit gutted about that, but just one of them things. Just gives me longer to get back fit and ready to go, because it's a long season. So even when I come back in April, it's still a long way. We're only a month or 2 in, so it's
still got 6 months of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just about building now. So over and all, I might miss. I think there's 9 weeks of rugby left till the grand final. Yeah. So I'll miss that, and then I'll miss pre-season. Obviously, I'll do my own mini pre-season, obviously, with the rehab. Then I'll miss the first maybe 6 to 8 week of the season. So overall, I've not missed that much.
No.
Like I said, I'm still very gutted about it, but it's just one of them things.
Yeah. Just in terms of the injury, certainly in the olden days, people used to talk about you get a serious injury and then other injuries happen off the back of it, like calves, hamstrings, etc. Built into your rehab, is there a specific thing to deal with that, so that there isn't knock-on effects causing secondary injuries, so to speak? Is there something built in?
Yeah, so through the rehab now, I think Jack Stotford, the physio, and Ches, they'll build me like a rehab program, and that goes all the way through like the full body, but it'll probably start with my hips and my glutes, loosening them up. Then it'll go like hip flexors, groins, hamstrings, quads, like I said, calves, and they'll make sure that I'm strengthening all of those areas whilst I'm going through, obviously, the knee rehab. So like I say, they do a great job there, and the S&C staff, so Bubble and Bentos, they'll get me a program in the gym for my strength, and obviously we'll get back firing in those areas to hopefully prevent injuries coming back.
In terms of, you touched on the mental health and the you know, the having to deal with being out for so long. You mentioned spending time, you know, with your family and giving you opportunities to focus on other things. I'm not sure if this is an individual thing or if it applies to all of the players. Does being in the company of the other players help, or is it better to be like kind of away from it all and then it's not there as a reminder?
Great question. I feel like even the first couple of days of when I was at home and I was bed like on the couch, couldn't really move, and all the lads were in training. I was just itching to come back in and just see the lads. So I think I come in maybe like 4 or 5 days later, and I was just happy to be back around and see everyone. And that was only a couple of days away. So I think it's because it's our second home, and sometimes I see more of the lads than I would see my own family. So I feel like it's important to stay around and to still be involved, because I know it's tough to watch that tonight playing Lee, and I'd love to be playing this game, and I'll be standing there watching, just involved in the game mentally, but obviously a bit frustrated that I'm not playing. But yeah, it's quite a tough one. I feel like there's a balance. I feel like there's also time to spend away from the lads and be with your family and do some good days out, because you don't really get time. We do get time off, but you're more like thinking about the game in a couple of days' time, or obviously we've had some Challenge Cup finals coming up, so like the building up to that, it was more about winning the semi, then you're on to the final and prepping for that. There's no time, like, especially in my mind, for family, and so I struggled having time with family. Well, not time, I would say valuable time, where you're mentally there and not mentally thinking about the games.
Well, it's funny that, because we have had another question been asked by Johnny Broad regarding holding all 4 trophies and yourself possibly being the youngest person to ever do that. We've not done the facts check on that, but we certainly think that you must be the youngest person to hold all of those. But from coming into the first team, you've almost been put straight away into that pressure of having a big game coming up. It wasn't long after your debut that suddenly you're in a Challenge Cup final, with Sam getting suspended. And then since then, it just seems to have been one big game after another, after another, after another. So in some ways, this is like your first break away from that focus of having big games on the horizon constantly. Yeah.
Like I say, having time to think about it, made my debut obviously, and then playing in the Challenge Cup final, obviously when Sam Paul got suspended, gave me a great opportunity. Obviously we beat that and won that game, and then coming away from that, it was almost like having a taste of success just made me hungry for more. And yeah, I kind of like found myself playing regular games in the first team, and then all of a sudden starting, and you're in a league leaders shield, and then there's hopes of, can we win grand final, and then you end up doing that, and then pre-season's all about the World Club Challenge, and then we go and do that, and then like I said, then this year with the Challenge Cup again, and then we go and do that. So it was all happened very fast. I would say non-stop.
And I'm just thinking, this unfortunate period that nobody wants to happen. Maybe it just would give you a bit of time to reflect and realise that those things happening so quick so soon aren't normal. It's a bit of an exception really.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a focus to say, you know what, I want to get back to this. I want to get back to winning more of that, because 100%. How easily it can be taken away from you.
Yeah.
You mentioned missing the Vegas experience in terms of not being able to play, but it just shows you how quick it can be taken away from you.
Exactly, yeah. It's just like 1 minute in rugby league, you can be on top of the world, and within seconds, that's it. Like, and you're at the bottom. It's a cruel game, rugby league. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and you just got to take the highs with the lows and roll with it. Really, I feel like that's my mindset. Like, you can't stop anything happening. You can just keep putting your best foot forward, and sometimes you just come unlucky with an injury like that. It's just one of those things. But like I say, I'll have time out now and reset, and hopefully come back hungrier and go for more.
So let's have a look at the start of your career, and we mentioned all the trophies that you've been involved in winning, and sort of go through your career now. Obviously, you signed for the scholarship team in 2017, then signed for the academy in 2019. What are them couple of years like? How do you develop into a Super League player? What is it that the club set up for you, and what do you have to do to make that level?
So from signing it in 2017 as a young lad, with 20 other lads, by the way, all going for the same thing, you create a very tough environment. The training was really tough as it is. It definitely was a shock to my system. Very tough the training was, but then you're training with the lads who are 12 months older than you, so it creates a very tough environment. Training was tough, and you were my tough players. Tough is like a key word, what got used quite a lot. Obviously with Matty being the head of youth at the time, there was like training sessions in the pit, we call it, which is the wrestling mats, and like some of the stories you could tell about being in them mats, and they were pretty brutal. And then there was like the army camps, what we used to go on. They were like Friday, Saturday, come home Sunday, and there was tough experiences. Kind of built like this very, like this culture though, like we just couldn't be beat physically because we trained so hard over the years. And when we played, you could see that on the field and the way we trained. Like, we used to train like full on. So we'd play on a Sunday for our amateurs, and then we'd come in Monday and we'd be bashing each other in the pit, and we just played on Sunday. And that was a mentality that it was just a ruthless mentality that we all had. And I think that's still in place now. And I think that's what sets Wigan apart from the rest of the scholarship and academy, and obviously going through first team. So that was a scholarship. I think I made my first game for the scholarship was at Robin Park here actually, and it was against Castleford, and I come off the bench in that game, and then played a few scholarship games, and then I played for England, the under-15s for England down in Cardiff, and I broke 2 ribs and lacerated my liver in that game in Cardiff, and I was in hospital for maybe 2 weeks down in Cardiff in intensive care. So then I missed maybe like my second year in scholarship, missed the pre-season, I should say, and then I come back for the under-16s. My first game back was against the player who did it to me for Wales. So there was like a big thing around that, and like I said, a bit of nervousness, a bit of pressure, and all lads got up for it anyway. It was a win. We ended up getting the win, so it was a great feeling after that. And then we ended up going on. We had a good team. We had Yamila Hanley in my team, Harry Rushton who plays for Huddersfield, Jack Bibby. There was a few other players as well, and then we had a decent season that year, and then we go on to play for England that year, and we went playing in France, and that was an experience playing for England against France at under-16s, in the changing rooms and all the stories. I think they must have been having a piss in the changing rooms before it, because we walked in, it was stunk, and it was like 30 degrees, it was horrendous, and we was all 16, like, what's this about? I didn't really know, and we ended up getting beat them games as well. Yeah. It was a lot more bigger and more physical than us, but that 10 days in France with England was like a really good experience. Fast track that you come into the academy, and I reckon that first pre-season with the academy were pretty brutal, because then you're with lads who are 3 years older than you. The academy goes to 16 to 19, and you're all in one team, so you're playing with the best. I was 16 because I'm a July kid as well, so I was always like underdeveloped, like later than the rest type thing. So I was coming through, and then there was some big bodies in there, like Morgan Smithers was in there, Ethan Neville played in that, Joe Shorrocks, some good middles. So yeah, but we had a really good team.
So as a 16-year-old, you were potentially playing against lads that had already debuted in Super League, could have been called up, and then were coming back into the academy for that game at 19. It's a big shock to the system, though. It
was like physically, my body getting used to the physicality, and I think I was playing pretty much every the academy game, and I weren't playing 9 either. I was playing at loose forward, and then I think we played like a Wednesday, Saturday games, and I played like nearly 80 minutes in every game, and then on the third game here, that's when I did my ACL. Yeah. So maybe I was like, I don't know if I was ready for the physicality and the consistency of playing those big minutes at such a young age, and I don't know if my body was ready for my legs, and I think that's a possibility. I did my ACL really.
And I do think as fans, that's often overlooked. That we see a player, a bright, promising player. I think the old story goes about Sam Tompkins, running rings around everybody in reserves and whatever, and Wayne dragging him on the field and saying, right, can you make 10 tackles 5 yards from your own line on a big 18-stone forward? Yeah. And he couldn't do it. And it's understanding as fans that there's got to be a bit of patience. There's got to be that time that, yes, they can come in and play a few games, but can they do it 15, 20 games in a row? And, it's frustrating as fans because we just want to see new players come through and whatever, but there's got to be that patience and development, I
feel like I've been a part of that development plan, but they have for most players, or all players I should say. Like, so I didn't just come in and stay in. I was in for a couple of games, then I come out, then I was on the bench for the start of the season, and then I got dropped for a game or two, and then I come in starting, and then obviously I stayed in, and that's been it. But I went through that development, and Jack Fireman is the newest one, and he'll be the same. Yeah. So he got his debut against London start of the year.
I'm sure we'll touch on it later, but I do believe 10, 12 games to go last season, Sam Powell's reintroduction helped yourself a lot, took a lot of pressure off, and you saw some videos at half time when it went to the dressing room, you and Sam talking to each other, and it just takes that pressure off you being the sole person out there and having that bit of experience, somebody who's been there and done it.
So when you're coming through with that, how often is that discussed with you, that development plan? Like you said, you might have been rested or dropped or whatever the word is that you want to use, but was you explained that you've not done anything wrong, it's for this long-term development, and was it always put into that long picture setup, or...?
Sometimes it was, and sometimes I'd play and I've just not played good enough. So it was a fact that I hadn't played good enough that game. I'm coming out for one. Sometimes it get explained that it's about development, and you do need to come out for a few games, go and play reserves, and then come back, and then I get another go. It's all a part of the process. I don't think that a young lad needs to be rushed, especially in the middle. Where it's very physical, you're getting like 30-year-old primed props, seasoned pros, and that they can do it. Where young lads at 18, 19, 20, 21 who are coming and finding the feet, it's a lot for them to do for every game of the year. And even though lads like me thought I could, and thought that like they don't think about that, they just think compete, want to win, and will get the job done. But there's always a bigger picture, and obviously it's down to Matty and the staff to sort that out. And
in terms of your development, when we did the podcast with Chris Radlinski about 2 or 3 months back, he talked about one of the things as a club they try and focus on is the development of the players, but the feedback that they give to the players throughout that development. So he says that when you take either the next stage with the club and move on to academy, or academy into reserves, or reserves to first team, or whether the club see your future somewhere else and you're not offered a contract, it should never be a surprise to the individual player. Now, from a club point of view, I can see that being good, etc. But first of all, is that correct? Did you always get that feedback? Did you always know where you were on that pathway? And as a player, do you think that's a good thing, or does it put extra amount of pressure on you if you happen to, slip down below expectation, and you're pressure on you to get back up into those levels?
I feel like it all starts with honesty and clarity from both ends. But I feel like I've always had that honesty and always had that clarity from a young age that what the plan was, but it was all going to be down to me. So the plan was always there, but it was always down to you've got to play your part, kind of thing. Like, you've got to train, and you've got to perform, and if you do those things, then the plan's there. Most lads who sign, all lads who sign will have that plan from the start, but for some reason it just didn't work out. But hopefully with mine it does, and it is so. But I feel like all the way through that it's all about regular conversations and honest chats about where you are in your plan. But I feel like the club's always been good with that. For me, being 14, 15 signing to now, it's always been the same. It's always been regular as well. I feel like it's important that it's always regular, because there's nothing worse than being uncertain about
told
where
6
you're
months
at.
later that you should have been doing this 6 months ago.
Yeah,
if you're being
it's
told,
impossible
listen,
now.
let's do something about it. No, you can action that, can't you?
But before it's too late. And I feel like it's not just on the club too, that I feel like it's on the player as well to go and get that information. If they want to find out something about their game, or they need to know what they need to work on, it's on the player as well as the coach to have that conversation. It's not always on the coach, because Matt is, like I said, he's got 30 players in for his team. It's hard to do it on a daily basis with every player, so sometimes it's on us as players.
But there's that pyramid as well where your Joel Tompkins, as it currently stands, etc., and going down, they're dealing with 30 players and 30 players below that, if not more, through those scholarships and through those academies. So that regular feedback has to be a positive to those players to get them where they need to be to make that next step.
Yeah.
Not just burying their head in the sands and saying everything's going to be all right and then cutting them loose 2 years later.
Yeah, I think when I was coming through, there was meetings every, I think there's 3 meetings here. So you have one at the start, one halfway through, and one at the end of the season. And they're basically just them conversations are about how you're going, what you need to do, and basically a plan of how you're going to do it. And they're split into 3 then. So at the end of the year, it'll be about what you need to do in pre-season, ready for the season. Then the one at the start of the year is what do you want to get out of the season? Then halfway through, it's how do you think you've gone? And then it's how do you want to go for the last part? And then obviously at the end, it's the review. But like I said, the club is really good at that, and like I said, it is on both ends to make that right.
That's really a good insight of how it's set up. Let's have a bit of a jump into your first full season, your 2021. You made your debut for Wigan. At the start of the season, though, you did the pre-season, went on loan to Widnes. How did that loan move come about? Did you go and speak to someone and ask for a loan move, or was maybe, I don't know, whoever was above you in the development said that it might be worthwhile?
So basically, what happened, I was obviously did a full pre-season here, and it was under Adrian Lamb. And obviously weren't playing, but through amateur I played at a club called Alton Falmouth Hornets, and I had a coach there called Dom, and he had some involvements with Widnes, and I was just coming back, so this was my first pre-season coming back from the ACL. Previous, so obviously COVID comes, so I didn't. We was at rugby for that year.
So the 2020 season, you didn't play in the academy. Yeah?
Didn't play at all. So it was more or less done, and then I come back for that pre-season with the first team, and then started then, and then played a few games into the Super League season. And then Dom spoke to my dad about a potential loan move to Widnes, just get a few games under my belt, play against men, and see where I'm at. Really, it was like a test to see where I am. So I was up for it. It was more of asking Wigan then, and then obviously a few phone calls happened, and then Wigan agreed to let me go. Really enjoyed Widnes. Some great players there. Obviously Matty Smith were there at the time. Jack Owens, Danny Craven. I feel like they really fast tracked my progression. played in some really tough physical games and found out about myself really in those games, because in them championship games they're all like tough, really physical games with some seasoned pros in there as well. So I feel like I found my feet after a couple of weeks in there. Bit of a slow start, but like I feel like I found my feet. Played against Featherstone in a semi-final of the 1895 Cup, I think it is, and it was away at Featherstone. It was a really like hostile environment. That was the first proper game I've played in, with the fans like that, and it's quite close. It was a really close game, and Fev at the time was top of the league and the favourites to win it. And Widnes weren't really doing great, maybe like bottom end of the table. And I reckon that's one of my favourite games. Widnes playing in that game, really physical, got stuck in, and we nearly won. Should have won, but we didn't. But at the end of it, really enjoyed that game, and it was a bit of a proud moment to play one of the big games for me, really.
But that learning curve that it must have brought for you from playing academy, doing a bit of a pre-season with the first team, to suddenly playing against adults, 30-year-old guys that have been there and done it. As you said, going to Featherstone, smaller stadium, very vocal, very loud. It's a big step up from playing in an academy where there might not be that many people watching, and there's not the same necessary, not intensity of the players, but the surroundings, the pre-match build-up. It must have really a bit of shock to the system to start with. But
it was an experience that I took confidence from.
I was going to mention earlier on. You mentioned about going down France and with I think you said the 16-year-olds and you know, from my day, I remember it was never easy going down France. You know, they always seemed to be bigger and stronger.
It was
knew all the dark arts as well and stuff like that. But there must be some of that in the championship as well, and playing against older players, etc., etc. Realising that the Wigan way is not the only way. Other clubs do things in a different way, and they're all experiences that build a better all-round knowledge of the game and understanding of what it takes.
Yeah, 100%, and that's why I do like going playing for England whenever I get the opportunity, because there's players there who do things different, and it's like you said, there's not only one way. There is different ways to have success, and like I say, you get to experience their ways. Like for instance, Jack Wellsby, he's had plenty of success over the years. George Williams, seeing his way, especially in the spine plays as well. Yeah, you learn quite a lot of them. So like I say, I do enjoy those experiences, but it only makes you a better player through playing with them type of players. And then when you bring it all back to Wigan and you pick up different ideas, you can only get better.
And I presume, when I say presume, I probably shouldn't do this, presume it, but the feedback that we seem to get from the outside is that Matty and the coaching staff are always open to hearing about other experiences and listening to players, listening to other ways of doing things. It's not just a one-way street, we know best.
No, it's perfect. I enjoy it. We have different coaches coming watching. We have a few rugby union coaches coming. I know Kevin Sinfield's been in. Sean Long has been in, coaches Oldham now. He comes in quite a lot. But we have different people coming into the club all the time, watching us training. Matt is really open. I know he's open with Sky coming in the games. It's a really open club who's trying to push the game. So it's perfect, really. But no, I enjoy Matty's, Tommy's, and Lockers' way of coaching. I feel like it's got the best out of me, and there's still plenty more to come. So yeah.
So, when you initially went on a month long, ended up staying for longer, played 9 games there, and you then get a recall back to Wigan to play in Super League. How did that phone call go? When did you find out that you were going to make your debut for the first team?
Yeah, so I played a game for Widnes. I think it was against York. Widnes against York. We got beat, and then I was on the way home, and then Sean O'Loughlin rang me. So at the time, Sean was he were looking after all the young lads in first team, and that was Sean's role. They were coaching, but his first year was to look after like the transition lads. So he rang me and was like, they want you to come in tomorrow I think that you're going to make your debut. You didn't say you are, I think you're going to make your debut. And obviously I come in, and then Lammy told me that day I was going to make my debut, and at the time, pretty emotional. Rang my dad, mum and dad straight away and told them, and they was all buzzing. Obviously it was a very proud moment. I'd worked so hard, and through that time there'd been uncertainty, obviously with COVID. I'd been my ACL rehab on my own through the COVID and that, and it was a bit of an uncertain time, and but then obviously coming back to the pre-season, going to Widnes, I feel like my confidence was just building right, and probably at the right time it come.
Can I just interrupt there just for 1 second? Because you mentioned the first thing you did was ring your mum and dad. It must have meant so much to them, not just the hard work that you put in, but they must have put in as well in supporting you through that time, through your injuries, through your schooling career, and driving you to games and whatever. How do you reflect on that, and how proud are you that they get to see that from what they've put in?
Yeah, obviously, I'm like very proud of them for what they've done for me. You know, I'm so grateful for what they've done for me, because without the stuff that they've done for me, that all, like you say, all the driving. By the way, my family never miss a game. Like, we could go away to Hull and there's family there. We can go away to Catalan, there's family there. You know, everywhere we go, there's family there. There was family booking them to come to Las Vegas. Been to France, so there were maybe 15 of my family in France from England debut, so they come everywhere. Even at amateur, we'd go away playing to Kipax in the semi-final, and they'd be there. Like, their life like kind of revolves around rugby, so I'm so grateful for them. And my dad's coached me from being like 4-year-old all the way through, so he's been a massive part of the journey, and his journey's still going. So he's now a scout for Wigan. So like he's mad into his rugby, and so he's a scout for Wigan. So Wigan rugby means like quite a lot to my family and to me as well, because they've been through the roller coaster with it, the highs and the lows, and obviously over the past couple of years they've experienced all the highs. I mean,
And I think one thing over the last 2 or 3 years, maybe, you know, I think it was still there under the Wayne years and Lamb years. I just don't think it was necessarily communicated to the outside world, but how the club looks after not just the player but the surrounding family of those people to make sure that everything's okay, and it makes it being a place that this is where I want to be.
My family feel very welcomed here, and they feel like I can come whenever they need to speak to anyone they need to speak to. And I think it's down to Matty that, and I think it gets the best out of lads, because me knowing that my family's going to be looked after on a game night, I don't have to worry about them. I know they're going to be getting looked after, and I just need to know, like, I don't need to know anything, because I know that it's all going to be right. And I think it fills the lads with confidence, and it's just one less worry that they don't need to worry about. It's all down to us performing and getting the best out of us, but it's just one less worry if they're all looked after, and we're going to do a great job.
But that's not just built off what happens an hour before the game. That's built from Monday to Sunday, week in, week out, 52 weeks a year. That you know that the club's got your back, and they know through an injury they'll support you.
Yeah, definitely.
And any other things that may crop up.
100%. Like I said, especially through this injury what I've been through now, they've been nothing but great with me and looked after me and my family. So no, it's a massive thanks to them, really.
Right, I'm going to push us on to your playing career now in your time in the first team. 2021, that was your debut year. You got 8 or 9 appearances, in and out of the team at different points. But 2022 was where you really started to make a bit of a name for yourself. Going into that pre-season with a new coach, obviously Matty came in. You'd worked with him before. Was you excited to work with him again? And was that pre-season any different to the year before?
Obviously very excited to work with Matty when he first come in. Obviously doing my best to impress. It was a very tough pre-season, as we all know it would be. But it was very enjoyable. I feel like he brought a more skill-based training on the field. It weren't just a flogging, but like skill games, but with the fitness involved to get us ready. So no, it was a very good, tough pre-season. Obviously, I was having little meetings here and there about what we wanted going forward. But through that pre-season, I found out that I was going to have a baby. So by like December time when I found out that I was going to have a baby, so that pre-season it went well, but there were problems. No, it wasn't a problem, but it were more like at the time it was a bit of a weird feeling.
Your head's a little bit.
Yeah, my head's a bit everywhere.
Yeah, a bit of a whirlwind.
Yeah, a whirlwind at the time. Finding out that he was having a kid, I was only like 18 at the time, so I was like, oh. And then but obviously it was the best thing that happened to me from them. But at the time it was a bit uncertain. I didn't know what Matty were going to think, didn't know what the club were going to think, so I was just like, oh. But no, I just ended up cracking on and then trying to get some games with him about playing at first team. But then I ended up going on loan to Newcastle for a few games. It was quite a different experience. Went up, stayed up there maybe 2 games I played from, I think. And went and stayed in like university accommodation with some of the lads. I think Matty Nick was in there as well. So we stayed with Matty for a few games. It was, I enjoyed it, but it was a bit different to Widnes.
Yeah.
Felt a bit different. I didn't do too long up there, and then I come back then playing for Wigan, and then obviously I was playing a few games, and then obviously Pau got suspended, and that's when my run started. Run of games started to come in.
Well, you started in the semi and the final of the Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
How was Sam with you during all that? Obviously, he got a suspension. He was out for 7 weeks, I think it was.
Yeah, 6 or 7 games, I think it was.
How did he help prepare you for that? Was he hands on with you, or did he sort of just leave you to it?
I wouldn't say that he was hands on, but I wouldn't say he left me to it either. He kind of just any advice that I needed, I would always go to him and just speak to him, especially in the big games, and he would just always be really supportive. Leading up to the games as well, he'd always be supportive, and it would just little comments to prepare me or to calm me down if I'm nervous, anything like that. But it wasn't too much hands on, but it wasn't like not there. It was right.
You always felt he had your back.
Yeah, I always felt he had my back. He wasn't all on it too much, you know what I mean? He was just always there if I needed him type thing, which was great from him. But yeah, on the semi-final, my daughter was born 2 days before that, and then I jumped straight into a semi-final, and probably one of the best games that I'd played leading up to that, and I couldn't believe it. Like, after all the stress I'd been through that week, and I ended up playing well and beating Saints in a semi-final, and you go to a Challenge Cup final a couple of weeks after. Yeah,
Did you think
hectic.
Did you think that sort of took away a little bit of the nerves around the game? That obviously you had a big event beforehand.
Yeah, probably.
You've got to go play in a
Put things into
semi-final.
perspective a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it's not. I'm not just playing for myself anymore.
Yeah.
It's got a bit more of a responsibility, and obviously it was a great couple of weeks from having the baby to winning Challenge Cup final. So yeah.
So let's go on to that final. Obviously, still just not even played 20 games for the first team at that point. You started 9 in a Challenge Cup final. What were your thoughts before the game? Obviously, it was at Tottenham, so not Wembley traditionally that it was. What was it like? What was that experience for you building up? Yeah,
it was quite a different experience because I've never experienced the final, obviously, in the first team era, so I'd never really experienced one. I was pretty nervous, but almost like excited as well. It's quite a weird. I still get the same in all the finals after them. It was the same feeling. Pretty nervous, but more excited of obviously winning. It was a great experience at Tottenham, being at that stadium. Obviously, it was the first time it being there, so there was a bit more of an excitement around it. But obviously, no, it was a great day. Obviously, it was a close game as well.
Yeah.
I didn't think we played the best, or I played the best here in that game. But when it was pinching it in the end with Harry's play with Marshy, so yeah.
So obviously that was a brilliant last couple of minutes. How were them last couple of minutes? Obviously, you score a try, winning by just a couple of points. The game's still the balance, but now you're in front. What was your thoughts during them? Do you remember thinking anything different?
No, I was kind of just chilled out, really, just like trying to stay calm, knowing that we'd won it. Was trying to kill the game off, really. Just kept looking at that clock, hoping it would go down quicker.
I suppose that whether you're a couple of points behind as we were going into that last 5 minutes, or a couple of points in front as we are going in the last couple of minutes, how do you balance that temptation when you're behind to try and win the game yourself, as opposed to sticking to structures and knowing what the best thing is for the team, and vice versa. It must be so tempting to like shoot out of a line and try and solve a problem when you're 2 points in front and whatever, as opposed to just staying in the line and sticking it. Is that a thing that is an individual thing, or do you think it's years of muscle memory, as they call it these days?
I think it's just like me being that young as well and inexperienced and not being with like. I just felt like I just had to do my role and that was it. That's all I got told before the game. It's nearly a role and we'll be right. I weren't going out there trying to be a superhero. We're just going out doing my job and hoping that it'd come off, like just do my role and nail my basics. Because that's what I would pride my game on. Just do your role, nail your role, like nail your pass, win your tackles, and that was it. It wasn't about trying to win a game for me, anything like that. It was just about doing my job and let to Jay and Bevan and Harry try and do that, because that's what they do, you know what I mean? Because I was very like, not inexperienced, but I not even played 20 games and I'm in a final. We were more just like nailing my role really for me.
Make your tackles and
exactly.
Do the 1%.
Yeah.
So obviously you win that experience of winning a Challenge Cup. I take it straight away. Did it ignite that fire to win more?
Yeah, 100%. Because although that I feel like I don't know, it was a bit of a weird Challenge Cup final because I wouldn't have played if Power was thinking. So it was almost like for me that I need to win another straight away. Like I need it to be like my Challenge Cup final win, you know. So that didn't. It was like a good day, and I'll always remember it. And it was great, but I'll always just like, have in the back of my mind that I wouldn't have played in it if Power wouldn't have been banned. So it was just always at the back of my mind. I needed to win another. Like, I needed to win again. So yeah, like I said, it was a great day out and great experience, and I did love every minute of it. But like I say, it was a bit of a different feeling to what I've had from the rest of them. Yeah.
But saying that, I think it's quite obvious to all the fans and whatever. You don't just have a single role at Wigan in terms of being that number 9. You do play quite a bit.
Yeah.
A back row, loose forward. So saying that, you know, if Sam had been the blah blah blah, moving forward or over the next 12, 18 months, you've been more than just that number 9 or working with Sam. You've often been on the pitch at the same time with each other, haven't you? Yeah. Leads me probably to my question that I was going to put in there, that do you prefer just being a 9 or do you like that bit of variety? You know, that coming back on the field and belting a few players like you do in that last 20 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like it's always good to have a variety in your game and playing a few positions. I always feel like it's good. You're not a one-dimensional player, then you know, you can play a few different positions. And like I said, through the academy, I did play a lot of loose forward. Do enjoy both. And I wouldn't really have a preferred choice, but obviously I play 9 now and I enjoy it. So whatever comes will come, and I'll play wherever I'm needed.
Well, certainly from a fan's perspective, we don't see it like as Cruz Leeming's coming off.
Yeah.
I tend to look at it as, Cruz Leeming's coming on and Brad's going off. I'm looking at it as Brad's having 5 minutes before he comes back on and starts belting people from that back row, and our intensity seems to lift when in that second spell when you come on.
Yeah.
So I see it as a positive. Not as like having 2 9s and who's the best one on the field. We can often get them both on at the same time, and that helps the team.
Yeah, like I say, I enjoyed it last year with Power. I've done it once this year with Cruz away at Huddersfield, and I really enjoyed it as well. So, like I say, I enjoy it, and whether Matty wants me to do it, I'll do it. So, yeah, that's it.
So, 2022, you obviously win the Challenge Cup and play a few more games at the end of for the rest of the season. But 2023, sort of become more consistent in the team.
Yeah.
Far more amount of games than what you played previously. And it was a start of a good spell for Wigan.
Yeah.
Really, winning the league leaders, winning the grand final. It was a massive season for the club. I want to ask you something as a player in particular. To fans, seems like there's a little bit more importance on that league leaders in the last few years, finishing top of the table for the playoffs and the grand final. Yeah. Have you felt that in there? Has there been a big focus to win the league leaders?
No, I don't think there's obviously we all want to win the league and everybody wants to win the league, but it's not a focus that we set that we need to win the league. It's more like week on week building. If we're wanting to win the grand final, we're going to have to be playing well enough to be at that top end of the table anyway. So it kind of just comes. But I feel like towards the back end of the year when it's in reach, we kind of have a focus to be like, like Lee was like a mini grand final to us, because if we won that, that's the.
And it provided a little bit of intensity.
Yeah, it was a bit more of this is on the line here for us. We can get this. This is, and that end of that league leaders game was a massive game, like really close.
Yeah. It was massive for both teams. Obviously, Lee missed out on the home semi-final. It feels like there's a lot of importance around that.
You were certainly prepared the week after against Hull KR.
Yeah, definitely.
From minute one, you were on it, weren't you?
Exactly. So it was like a mini grand final going into that, and we kind of needed one of them games. It was teed up right, that we played Lee away, hostile environment. Lee hates Wigan, Wigan hate Lee. It was a massive game, and the trophy was on the line for us. So it was like a mini grand final for us. And we went there and got the job done. We took massive confidence from that. Obviously, OKR beat us in the Challenge Cup semi, so there were a lot of speculation that we don't know what's going to go on and all that and so on. But we knew that we were confident here at DW that we were going to get it done. And obviously, we went on to do that. And then Old Trafford coming,
Well, that first 10-15 minutes of the Hull KR semi, I would probably put forward as the best 10-15 minutes of rugby that I watched that season. The intensity, it was like, we're getting this job done, and you could almost feel it before the game. But as players, was that what you set out to do to win this game?
Tommy and Lockerzin and Matty, to be fair, had nailed the game plan that we know would work, and we all bought in, and we stuck to it and give it everything from the off. We knew that we were going to get it done, but we also knew if we didn't start right and nail the game plan at the start of the game, that it could have gone either way. Obviously, through the semi, we knew what could happen in games, a yellow and red card, so it was important that we didn't leave it down to a yellow or red card decision to win a game or lose a game. It were nail our job. Everyone do your role to the best you can do it, and we'll get the job done. And that's what we did in that opening 10-15 minutes, and the rest of it was just like
just keep rolling.
Yeah, just kept rolling.
The week after was being the grand final, slightly different in that Catalans were they were in that game, obviously on the scoreboard for quite a lot of the game, but it just felt to me that after the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we were always, despite what the scoreboard might have said, we were always ahead of them. How did you feel about that? Did even though the scoreboard might have only shown us, like, say, 2 points in front or whatever, it felt a thing of like, the time will come. How did it feel?
Yeah, exactly how you felt. That's how we felt. We knew that game that there were going to be not much in it. You know, it's a grand final. Like, if you play them in a normal league match, it tends to be different. But in finals, there's always like a nervousness about how you play. Like, you're a bit more cautious with what you do. You don't normally throw that passing, and that's just how they go. But we knew that if we stuck to our process in the game plan, that we would hang in for longer than them, and that it would come at some point. So
and I think it was interesting that Sam Tompkins referenced it after the game, that he said, you know, it might look close, but from 50 minutes on, we never felt like we could do it. And that takes a lot for an opposition person to say that.
And that's just us hanging in, just keep like playing the way we play. But the way we play is physically demanding. It's not easy the way we play. Obviously, it makes teams give. Hopefully, we would like to think that they would give it in the end, and that's when then we can play. But in a big game like that, it's not always that simple.
It's interesting you mentioned that, and that's part of your plan for every game. That we talk about every game, every week. That we seem to put points on around that 50-60 minute mark when it's been such a wrestle for so long, and it's been so physically demanding. That then when the game starts to open up a little bit, we've got that energy reserve to go bang bang and try and get 2-3 tries and put the points on then. That is sort of the plan. It's to stay in games as long as possible. I want to talk about before the grand final. Obviously, you'd already played in the Challenge Cup the year before, but in the Challenge Cup final, you've obviously got the rest of the season to look out to. How was it preparing for this game, knowing that you lose this game and the season you haven't won what you set out to? don't really have a second chance, do you?
No.
Was there that awareness of it?
Yeah, obviously we speak about there's only one shot at winning a grand final. You might never get it again, type thing. And they don't come around so often. So we spoke about that, but I think we just knew in the culture we had that we can't get beat. Like it's just not happening this weekend. Like we're just not getting beat. And it was one of them like we were willing to do anything, to win. And that was the mindset of everyone in the squad, from the whole squad, the whole staff. We was all bought into this. Can't get beat with the grand final. And it was a very exciting week building up to it. Obviously, it's a grand final. It's the last game. We all felt the same way, as in like we can't get beat. I mean, we kind of like in our own minds that we was always going to win. And, could have come to the game, we might have lost, but throughout that week and out, that the mindset was always we can't
very
get beat.
Positive
yeah,
attitude.
very positive. Yeah, and I feel like that's what it needs to be. And we knew that the game wasn't going to be easy as well. We knew we're not just going to roll up to Old Trafford and dish them up. It was never going to be like that. We knew what kind of game it was going to be. And then we stuck to our game plan and we come out on top and ended up winning. So,
well, slightly going back a bit, and there is a reason linking it into the grand final. About 12, 13, 14 games earlier, we'd lost the semi-final against Hull KR.
Yeah.
And I think we played Lee down here, and Lee had rested players because they were going to be playing in the Challenge Cup final the week after or whatever. And we seemed to hit that good run of form. I think we won 15 in a row to win it. I remember saying 5-6 games into that my only concern was that we'd put the foot down a bit too early, and were we going to run out of gas?
Yeah.
But then getting to that grand final, watching us in that 80 minutes, thinking to ourselves, these lads could have played another 10 games after this.
Yeah.
Is that what it felt like? Did it feel like as a squad you just had so much energy, so much than any other team?
Yeah, I feel like it's down to the pre-season we have as well. The pre-season's so important that we had, but leading up to that semi-final, and I think the way we started helps us, because if we don't start the way we started, we might not look like we had energy. But because we invested in the start, we kind of blew them away from the start, that it kind of looked like it was easy and we had loads of energy, because that's how the game went. But if it's a battle like Catalan had the week before with Saints, and they're in that battle and it goes to extra time and all that, and they're fatigued and we've got to play Wigan again next week. But we had quite not an easy game, but like we kind of played that well that it looked easy type thing.
And sorry to jump forward 12 months, but is there any correlation between what you're saying there and possibly our last 2 or 3 weeks down here, where we've not started well, and then we don't look like we've got energy, etc., etc. And is there that bit of giving the other team a bit of confidence if you make your mistakes, you miss your tackles early on, and suddenly they grow 2 inches taller?
Yeah. Like I said, we're over halfway through the season. We've played in some big games. We've not had many weeks off, if any. Some lads had a bit of time off in the international break, but there's always, I feel like the season can never go like that, There's always going to be a bit of a dip, but it's all about the way that we respond. It's all about responding. I know we've got injuries, but we've got good enough players in our academy and through the system to make sure that we win. But it's all about responding. But I wouldn't worry about the way we've been playing the past couple of weeks.
I think 99.9% of fans understand that, let's call it a speed bump or a little bit of a blip, whatever the terminology is. You can't be great 35 weeks in a row. You're always going to have those. But it just seems to me, I mean, lots of discussions about referees and referees' decisions and blah, blah, blah. But I remember I've argued last 2 games, forget referees' decisions, etc., etc., dropping ball 6-7 times, making tackles,
errors, basics.
That's what saps the energy. That's what
100%.
Yeah, and if you fix them and get back to basics, suddenly the confidence builds off the back of that.
It is like that. And after that OKR game, the semi, it was all about a reset then, going back to basics, nailing your effort areas. It was about going back to basics, and that's what we did, and we found really good form on the back of that. So hopefully that we can do the same. Yeah. Like I said, we've had a really busy physical year already.
And mentally challenging as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, with
mentally challenging.
The Challenge Cup final and the Penrith.
Yeah, the Penrith
which I'm sure we'll touch on in a minute. But
so there's a long way to go yet, but I'm 100% confident that we're going to find out for it.
Yeah.
So any Mad Monday stories?
Oh, I can't remember. No, honestly, no. There's been some good ones. I know after the grand final when they were going to Dublin.
Yeah.
And that was a really good crack. I think there was about 15 of us went to that, and that's a couple of days after the grand final. So we have.
I like how Matty has not been shy of saying, "Listen, we're going to celebrate these wins as well."
Yeah, it's important that you celebrate
build
those
memories.
wins. Yeah,
you must build memories. From it, yeah.
Definitely a lot of memories in. I know we celebrated that one pretty well. We went to Dublin because that's a couple of days after, so it was some effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ride home on the coach after the Challenge Cups, both of them was really good. On the Sunday mornings, and it takes you 8 hours to get home. You know, we stop off at pubs along the way, and everyone's having a good time and enjoying each other's company. So no, there's some great memories in. Yeah.
Good. Right, I'm going to push it on to 2024. Wigan now hold all 4 trophies at the same time. A feat that's not been done often. I think it's 2 other teams have done it. And it started in February 2024 with the World Cup Challenge. Yeah. Beating Penrith here. I'll say this. I think this, in 2-3 years' time, will look back as one of the Wigan's greatest ever games. Up there with the previous brilliant games that have been there, but to beat such a good Penrith side, 16 points to 12. How are you feeling before that game? Because all finals are usually mid-season, towards the end of the season. To do your pre-season, knowing you've got this game two weeks in, how was that? Did it change anything? Did anything change? Or
for me personally, it was almost like I took it as like a personal challenge as well as obviously a challenge for the team. That like, if I want to be the player that I am hoping to be, then I'm going to need to perform against these men. So like, it was more about looking after myself mentally, preparing myself in the right way, that I'm going up against the best in the world. It was almost like a challenge to myself that if I want to be the player that I want to be, I'm going to have to do it against like these men tonight. So I kind of prepare myself like that, but it's kind of easy to prepare because we was confident. I'm confident in Harry Smith being the best. I'm confident in Jay and Bevan about them being the best, and I knew that we were going to perform. But then there's actually Michael Cooper, like that performance that he did that night, his experience that night was like helped me massively, because obviously he's been in big games, experience, played in the NRL, he knows him. He kind of gave us not the game plan, but I feel like the game plan for us middles to go after them, because they were going to come after us, and it was almost like a battle between us middles, and it was important that we win that battle. And he was great to have on board. Obviously, we'd lost Luke Thompson the week before to HIA, so obviously through the week we were a bit disappointed, but then Coops and Burney stepped up, starting props in that game, and we were real physical.
Just on the Coops thing, he's slightly been unfortunate that he's not strung 25, 30 games together or whatever, but certainly from what I see, he's very vocal and seems to be like, I don't know this term, this leadership thing, or leadership team. Has he been one of those?
He has, especially in these big games. You know, what's standing out to me is the World Cup Challenge, how vocal and how much of a leader he is in them games. In the Challenge Cup final recent, he was so vocal and like his leadership was so great, but he weren't all vocal, he was actually doing the tough stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, doing what he says he's going to do, and that's important. I feel for me is like, if you're gonna say something, you need to go and do it yourself.
And as a relative youngster, you've got your Ethan Ava, Ian Burns, whatever. It must make you feel that 10% stronger.
Yeah, because you've got him at the side of you.
Yeah, you've got him at the side of you.
So like, he might not be able to do as much as Ethan physically in a game, and for as long as Ethan does it, because Ethan can play 80 minutes, whip up 50 tackles and 20 carries and do all that stuff, and Coops might have done it then, but like Coops' experience now, what he's been able to give to likes of Ethan and Bernie is like priceless really, because then now they're getting that experience and they've got the physicality to do it now, so it's going to only make them better. And that was the feelings that we had in the Penrith game and the Challenge Cup game. he definitely knows how to fire us up.
Good.
And get us going.
Oh, right. And just add another name. I always throw him in, Willie Isa.
Willie's the man.
I'm just going to say,
he
just seems that player that will take on every challenge, never take a backward step.
If I was having a team and I wanted to have a first pick of a player, I reckon he'd be straight on. Just his mentality, his ruthless mentality, no backward step, doesn't matter how big they are. And Willie's pretty big, but he's not as big as people might think. But he doesn't take a backward step, and if I were going into war, he'd definitely be my right hand man, Willie.
I'm not surprised to hear that, to be honest, from what we see. That game, Penrith, obviously comes down to some very big moments, a couple of really big tackles from field, stop Penrith scoring.
Yeah.
I've got to ask, what were you thinking when that try went up to the video ref with about 3 seconds left?
I was pretty nervous, but like I say, I backed Jay. Jay were confident. If you watch the video about
straight away,
Jay's, I say, no way. So we was all like, I'm looking at the screen. I know I was stood next to the Coots watching it, thinking, okay, this is it now. This is all on this moment. Either we win or we lose in this moment type thing. And no, it was a special moment when it come up, no try, and the whistle had gone and.
Was it a grand final moment?
I almost feel like it was just as big. Yeah. I feel like to play in that game in front of 25,000 fans at DW, all Wigan, it was just, and the atmosphere was probably better than Old Trafford atmosphere. Yeah. I would say. I know we played Catalan, and Catalan obviously didn't bring it as much as Warrington or Saints would bring, but I feel like the atmosphere at Wigan then after beating them was, I feel like that would be my favourite game to have played in that one.
And I suppose it's too early to ask this question, because in years to come it'll settle on you and you'll realise. But you must understand that the guys who played against Manly in '87, the guys who particularly played in Brisbane in '94, those guys are in folklore. You know what I mean? I was lucky enough to be at them, and still 40 years on, it's hers on the back of your neck, stand up thinking about those moments. Has it dawned on you yet that in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, people will still be talking about that night?
No, probably not. I've probably not thought of it like that. It's still, I don't know, it's quite a weird feeling. It doesn't really feel like you've done it yet. Maybe like at the end of the year and you sit back and everyone sits back and looks back at the season we've had, then maybe then, but yeah, I just remember them moments on the field where everyone's celebrating the little moments, you know, which then ultimately added up to the biggest moment, obviously Jay doing that tackle and they don't score, and that's it. But I just feel like the way we competed, I was just very proud of the team and us, the way we competed against them, because they come to play. They weren't coming over to lose them, and I feel like the way they said about St Helens, you know, it's like, it was just a training game for us and all that, but they come over here to play. And
to be fair, they handled themselves very, very well with the press, with the fans, you know.
Yeah, full credit to them, and they come over to play, and they were just, like I say, it was a similar mindset to the grand final. We just, we can't lose, we're just not losing today, like, and that with that mentality. I feel like whenever we turn up with that mentality that we just can't get beat, it's just we're not getting beat today, and that was one of them days, and they're the games that you remember, and I just remember just competing the hardest I've ever competed, you know, with all the teams all on the same wavelength of competing so hard that we just none of us can lose. So it was a great game to play in that.
One last thing I want to ask you about this game. Obviously, you started. Cruz was playing. He had a bit of an injury.
Yeah.
Scores his try and then comes off. Was that a bit of a shock that you were coming back on, or was you ready for it? Was there
I never wanted in that game like that. I never wanted to come off. I don't like coming off in them big games. I'll be honest about it. Like when I'm in that mindset like that, I feel like I can just play forever. You know, like you're in that mindset. You're just competing and you don't want to come off. So as soon as I come off, I was itching to go back on. I just wanted to compete, and obviously, it was a shame. Obviously, for Cruz, he scored a try, then he come off and his ankle weren't right. But for me, it wasn't like. I will relieve that I were back on and I could just go and compete again in this big game.
Is it harder sitting on the side watching?
It's definitely harder sitting so tonight watching this game, it'll be harder for me to watch this game than it would be to play in it for me.
That's definitely not the case for us, I don't think. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
So you win that, and then you get your Challenge Cup moment. I know you spoke with the 2022 one that you were only in because Sam had been injured, but you were Wigan's number 9, starting in this Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
So you get that moment. Was there an awareness that the 4-in-4, was that spoken about beforehand that we could do something brilliant?
We spoke about not too much before, maybe a week or two leading up to it. Since from the semi-final, we'd spoke about it, it was quite a shock. I didn't really know at first that this would be the third team to do it in Super League history, but the first team to do it in Wigan's history. So it was quite a surprise. But I'm fueled us more to that. It was another game that we just can't lose.
Yeah.
We just can't lose it. We just every finals, I think we're getting this mentality that we just can't lose. So I feel like the semi-final is harder to win than the final because once we're there, we know that we're going to be right.
But strangely enough, just going back to the semi-final, you nailed that first half an hour in the semi-final against OKR.
Yeah.
You know, there was this 50-50, we'd been beaten in OKR early in the season. We were probably a little bit passive in that game and let them come at us and then found a bit of form back in the game, but didn't get there. But that, from the first 5 minutes, it was over.
Yeah.
We'd had some T-shirts done to kind of like maybe get back at them OKR fans.
Yeah.
You know, we had the 5 stars, give a little respect.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a statement. We wanted just to say to the fans, like, stop getting a bit too cocky, you know. I know but we felt it that like these lads have been there and done it, and if they do what they're doing, they've been through it in grand finals, they've been through it in Challenge Cup finals, they've been through it in World Club Challenges against the best in the world. If we get this right, it's over.
Yeah, it's
and
kind
it felt that way in that first 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
It was like I said, it's about all at the start, and it was another game that we nailed it. They're very important, the starts in the big games, I believe. If you mess up the start, I feel like you're always chasing it, and they're very hard to get back. The games are very hard to get back if you miss the start, especially against these good teams there in the semis and the finals.
But in the final, conversely, Coops gets that sin bin.
Yeah.
Very luckily.
Yeah, they get one not too long after. Yeah.
But it was the semi-final. The final was a little bit different in it. Again, a bit like the Catalans game. You just felt we were always in front. Yeah,
like through the game, I think we had a clear game plan. I think it's very important that you do have a clear game plan in the big games because you're nervous, you're thinking about all the other things. But if you just have a clear game plan in your head, a simple game plan, like it's almost better for every individual. That if you nail the game plan, then the rest of your game can fall off the back of it. Yeah. And I feel like we nailed that as a team. Obviously, it didn't go smooth at the start of the Coops and that, but it's all about it adds to the story at the end of it that we come through it, you know, and the game goes on. And Zach comes in for Adam, who gets banned and scores the try, and then there's Bev who scores them tries, and just the way that we defended all game, I feel like that were big, and to close George down and give him no cues. It were a massive team performance. That.
I just want to ask you about that. Obviously mentioned Mark Cooper getting the yellow card. As a team, when we seem to go down to 12, what's the feeling in the group? We looked into the statistics behind it, and actually when we go down to 12, we score more points than we concede.
Yeah,
and that's a really weird thing to say.
I feel like everybody finds an extra 10% in the game because you're fighting for your mate.
Yeah.
I feel like it happens to most teams. That if you look into it, research, most teams who go down to 12 men end up fighting that bit harder. I just feel like we do that pretty well.
And that's a collective thing that you're all back
that we all buy in. Yeah, and it's not just for us anymore. It's about your mate who's done that, and you all fight for each other and work for each other. So yeah.
Okay, so that takes us to where we are today.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're out at the moment, but we were talking about it the other day about how your career's gone so far.
Yeah.
You've not played 70 games yet for Wigan.
Yeah.
And won 5 trophies. You average a trophy every 13 and a half games, a phenomenal record, and it stands up there with some of some of the best ever, Sean Edwards, Andy Gregg, Fran Albotica. Obviously, you've got a long time to go.
Yeah.
But I think it's just key to highlight the period that we're in here of success and the way that you guys compete and the work that you're doing to be competing with that golden generation, that golden time of success. We're doing that in the moment and to remember that during everything.
Yeah. And you know, as a guy that's old enough to remember all of those, you know, a lot of them were built around Lancashire Cups and John Player Cups, slightly different type of tournament, which we don't have anymore. These are certainly a lot harder to win nowadays, just in comparison. But it is, on a personal level, could I just ask, I mean, obviously you're going to be out for 9 months or so, but the England, Great Britain, Ashes, 2025 World Cup, that must be on your horizon in your thoughts. Is that something that, you know, you'd like to focus on as well?
Obviously, playing for England this back the other month was a very proud moment for myself and my family. But it's given me more of a motivation to go back and play for them again. Yeah. Obviously, I'd have been open to playing the Samoa series at the end of the year. But obviously, there's something to work towards next year, is in playing in the Great Britain Ashes test over in Australia. So yeah, the main focus obviously getting back playing for Wigan, playing well, and then obviously we'll build towards that. But obviously it is a added motivation.
It's good to know that as a person, we talked about experiences and wanted to test yourself or wanted to experience different things, that you are that kind of person that looks at those things and says, you know what, I want that challenge, I want to take it on.
100%, and there would be no bigger challenge than going over to Australia for Great Britain and beating them in their own backyard. So it's a massive challenge for it would be for myself if I got that opportunity, and it's a massive challenge for Great Britain in itself.
And that thing about your versatility as well. Yeah. You go down under not just with 17 players, you go down under with a squad of players, and having that ability to play different positions, even within a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
Before we let you go, we've got a couple of questions from some fans that want to know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
Growing up, who was your rugby hero?
Supported Wigan growing up. I'll have to say Lockers, because he was the main man. But obviously Sam were very good. Obviously when I'm watching Wigan, Matty Bowen, he was in and out. Yeah. There's a few really good players, but I would have to narrow it down to Lockers.
Yeah, I can't blame you there. Yeah. You played Super League now 3-4 years. Who's been your toughest opponent? Is there someone that stands out?
The opponent.
A player that you played against that always gives you a tough day.
It gives you a tough day, or the challenge of playing against them. Yeah.
I feel like there is. I feel like the toughest challenges are always the Saints on the Good Fridays. There's not any particular player, but I just feel like when you play Saints and fully stacked team, and we've got the same, and you know, you can't beat them.
That intensity.
Yeah, that intensity. You can't really get that in any other game apart from Saints, really.
Obviously, you came into the team and was up against the last 2 years of James Roby.
Yeah.
What was that like as an experience? Could you feel the class and the experience that he had? Could you feel that playing against him?
Yeah, it was more like an ease. Like whatever he was doing it looked easy. Yeah. You know, he made it look easy. Where I was trying to do it and how I found it difficult. So that's just years and years of experience from him and how good he is. But at the end, he had.
You talked about the basics earlier on, and I think what you're on about is the basics of the game, making them 50 tackles and nailing them passes.
Yeah.
James Roby's made a career out of it. Never missed a beat for 20 years, has he?
Yeah, so he just the fact that I was just trying to find my feet and get good at the basics in Super League. Because being good at the basics at academy is different to being good at the basics in Super League. It's just like two different games. Yeah. But like the way how easy we're making it look, it was just like, yeah, this guy's good. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to be like that.
Yeah. Next question was, how far do you look in the future? Do you have any plans for the future in terms of potentially going to the NRL? Anything along them lines? Have been in the plans?
Not really. Like I say, I'm in the middle of my 4-year deal. I'm in the first year of it, so don't really look too far. Obviously, we're in the middle of a really successful era at Wigan, so there's nowhere else I'd rather be at the moment than playing for Wigan and winning these big games, which I think we're capable of to keep on doing. But like I said, it's all about the day-to-day training and the culture that we've got here and keeping all the players fit. Like I said, I'm out there for 9 months, but as soon as I come back, it's straight back on task to winning.
Yeah. Someone's asked, on the field you seem like a bit of a leader, very vocal, but doing your job and leading from the front. Is that something you've had to work on, or is that something that you've always naturally found, do you think?
I feel like it's always been in my game coming through, but naturally as you come through, like as at first team, I think it's hard to come through as this upfront leader and do that straight away, because you just have to find your feet first. Your game just doesn't come like that. It's like a building block to get your own game back in the first team. And I feel like I was just finding my feet and finding my rhythm, and my true game was coming through. I wouldn't even say it all come through yet. But there's more bits that I need to work on and get better. And like I said, this period now is going to give me time to make sure that it does all come through when I get back. Yeah.
Well, that's everything from us. Brad, it's been an absolute pleasure to sit down and listen to your story about your career so far. Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Obviously, it's my first podcast. This, my first one. So no, I appreciate it.
Also available on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I think you said you were going to give us a listen.
100%. I'll be giving it a listen. I'll get the family and friends to give it a listen as well.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. It's been an honour. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.